Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. I want to talk to you today about, well, the newest incarnation of Gruff. This is Gruff, the Stuff of Nightmares. Now, I did a video for Gruff a long time ago. There's also like this Gruff Rage of Trolls, and Gruff is a battle card game in which each person takes on the role of a shepherd who has a herd of mutated goats, and they do battle against each other. And I really, really liked the original Gruff. I liked the battle aspect. There was like this timing thing that was going on during the game as far as like when you attacked and when you had resolutions, and it forced people to make like good, strong decisions based on the cards they had in their hand, and also just the powers and the abilities of the goats that they had in front of them as well. And there was a couple things I really liked. I really loved the art. I really liked the theme. I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like, they could have said spellcasters with their armies of the undead, or, you know, whatever. But no, I'm going to make a game about shepherds and mutated goats. I thought that was awesome. And then what they did is that they actually, the designer, he actually decided to make a co-op version and put in these trolls. And so now the players could actually work together to defeat, like, a monster that was between your two herds of goats. And this Stuff of Nightmares adds a bunch more cards, and it adds more trolls, and it adds more goats, and it adds more shepherds. And one of the things is that I got my Rage of Trolls box now, but I kind of missed out on this, and I didn't really get to play a lot of the co-op. So so the co-op is what I've been playing with my daughter a lot, and really like it. I think I do it just because she's really good at card games, even though she's like 10, and I don't really like losing. Anyway, but so the whole thing is that we really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna show how to play like the co-op version of the game, and I'll sprinkle in some of the stuff as far as the head-to-head stuff as well. But just talk a little bit about like how the game works and how the structures of the actions and stuff work, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Here's a hint: I really like it. I knew I was gonna like it as far as like just more stuff for a game that I really like. But regardless, let's go and I'll show you how to play. Alright, so I'm going to show you the Stuff of Nightmares from Gruff, like I said, and I'm going to show you actually the co-op version, because the co-op version works a lot like the head-to-head version. It just, there's an extra phase as far as actually resolving the troll that you're fighting in the middle of the board. The setup is the same. Each player will have a shepherd. Each player will have 3 of their gruffs, or, you know, basically their goats, if you will, and then they will also then go through the decks of each goat and choose 8 cards to form a deck of 24 cards. Remember, once you go through your deck of cards, you don't get to reshuffle those. I mean, there's some like abilities and actions that you can take through cards that will allow you to take some of the discard cards and put them back into your hand. Just, you know, for the most part, once you're through it, you're through that deck. I mean, you're unable to, reshuffle it and begin anew. Just a couple of quick things, and you know, I mean, if you haven't played Gruff, or you didn't see my original video for the original game, these are the shepherds, and this is the person that you need to keep alive. If you're playing head-to-head, if your shepherd was defeated, then you would lose the game. In the co-op version, both you and your opponent are going to be working together to take out that troll. If the troll takes out either of the shepherds, then the troll wins and both of you lose. So you have a life bar, and I should mention, these are these cool little sliders. They're just little plastic paperclip things, and they won't damage the cards. That's one of the things people always ask. You know, it's like, oh, does it bend the card? It's like, well, they don't, so it's pretty cool. But and then there's a crazy stat, and the crazy stat determines the power of the cards that you're allowed to play. And I should mention, like, I made my decks before I played this, but I mean, like, here is, you know, like just a card, and you can see up here there's a number, and that's like the amount of crazy that you have to be able to play it. So a respite card, it costs 0 crazy. You should always remember that as because I'll explain how it works, but basically when you activate your mutated goats, depending upon what their weird stat is, and I'll talk about the goats a little bit, your shepherd will go more and more crazy. But you never lose crazy from spending a card. For like, here's a card that costs 19 crazy. You have to have a 19 in your crazy stat to play this particular card. But you wouldn't lose 19 crazy points for doing that. I mean, there are effects and things like that would cause you to lower your stats, but using a card will never cause that to happen. And I should mention, I just want to show you the three different types of cards that there are. Just by the symbols that are on there. So you can see there's this green symbol, this blue symbol, and this orangey red symbol. This is an action. When you play it, it's just an action. It happens, it occurs, and then you discard the cards. Put a dream mutation token on a Gruff, shuffle this card into your deck. You just do that, and then you shuffle it back in your deck as it tells you. This is a condition card. Conditions, normally in your head-to-head game, conditions last until your turn. In this case, because of the fact that you're playing a two-player, you go and this person goes and so on and so forth, conditions last until the other person's turn. But anyway, vague recollection, return any condition or mutation to its owner's hand. So it's just an action, and then it costs 2 of those. And the last one, these are mutations. Mutations last forever unless they get destroyed. Even if your goat gets killed, when you bring them back from the dead, when you resurrect them, the mutations stay with them. So, and I should mention that even though it has this picture of this particular buttons, which is this guy, you don't have to play buttons, this mutation on buttons. You could play it on any of your goats. So there's definitely some synergy that you're going to work on to create for this. But mutate actually I should mention this isn't actually mutating the goat. This is mutating a shepherd. But the same thing, if it has, perfectly, that actually explains it pretty well because of the fact that this mutates shepherd. But if you have a mutation that mutates a goat, it can mutate any goat. So just follow the rules of the cards. This is another one of those games where it's when in doubt, the rules on the card oversee or the ones that you follow as opposed to the rules. So Dream of Equity, mutate a shepherd, ignore all threshold abilities on that shepherd. That actually segues really well into the other shepherd. I didn't mention threshold. So they'll have certain things like Visions of the Future. When the Wild Thing's life crosses its threshold, draw a card for each exhausted Gruff in play. This is the threshold, this little line here. So when it goes from 4 health to 3 health, the threshold action will take place. This is the telling you that this particular shepherd can have 4 of these ultimate cards in their deck total. And I'll fish one of those cards out. But it's just one of those things where here, these big cards. So put a dream mutation on each Gruff. And so you can see it has this little symbol around there. So you're only allowed to have 4 of those cards in your deck that you create if you use Wild Thing of the Shepherd. Alright, so moving on to the Gruffs. Gruffs will have little things where you get +1 mean and +1 fat when you activate it. Mean is their attack ability, and once again you just go this up, you move it up. And fat is what allows them to protect themselves from damage. So if Custer here was attacked for something that does 2 damage, he would take no damage because of the fact that this would it wouldn't be enough to take him out. Now, these goats have the equivalent of if you can defeat them, if you can go above their fat, they're considered to be killed. In which case, then you kind of flip them over to show that they've been killed, but you are able to resurrect them. So, and I'll talk about that when I talk about actions. But then excess damage, if you're familiar with the overrun ability, excess damage then goes and hits the shepherd, and that's how shepherds get killed. Because either they get attacked, because this game does follow channels of attack. So right now, if the troll attacked, it would be attacking Sticky. But if he was over here and my Custer was dead, there wouldn't be anything to protect. The attack would go straight through and hit my shepherd. And I'll, once again, how does the troll move back and forth? I'll explain that here in just a little bit. The same thing follows if you were actually playing head-to-head. When you do attacks, you exhaust the the troll that's attacking, and you kind of just move it like that. You can push it forward. You don't really have to, but like you can say you're attacking, and then this would be the one that defends. And so, and if you watch my original video for Gruff, like one of the things about it is like, you know, being able to like move. Like there's gonna be lots of times when like if you have a one of your goats that has been killed and you need to resurrect him, but you're able to like shift. So like if you knew there was an attack coming, you could shift it and then be able to protect yourself and stuff like that. Once again, something I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I will talk about that in just a little bit. So that's and also as I'm so might as well pick it up. The weird is when you activate, as I said, you activate this, your shepherd would get +1 crazy when you activate Custer. And then there's some other things, like this kind of tells you like what clan they belong to and things like that. So, and you definitely can work on making like cool synergy with the different like, you know, groups or clans of goats to do it. Now the final guy obviously is the troll. The troll has a rage counter, and the rage, it'll gain a rage. In a co-op game, each player's turn, like it gains one. It keeps, you know, click, click, click going down on the list, right? And then what happens is that it like will gain like rage that will allow it to do its special abilities, and I'll talk about those special abilities here in just a moment. But because they're all like located on these cards as you turn them over. But as you like, it will have a fat, you know, like that protects it, and also has a life that's over here. So there's definitely like they're big and they're tough. And one of the big things is he gets +2 defense when attacked from his sides. So like if he was here, Custer could attack normally, but if Stitchy was attacking, he'd be attacking to the side, and he would get +2 defense if you attack it from its side. Threshold, destroy all mutations. Players take 1 damage for each dream mutation that is destroyed, and that's his threshold. What he does is he puts these dream mutations on your like he drops these on your goats, and because it's a mutation, it sticks with you. You don't get to get rid of it. And so that's one of the big things is that as you do damage to it, you're also getting them closer to the point where all those dream mutations are going to kind of explode on your goats, which then will do damage to your shepherds, which will theoretically possibly kill one of your shepherds when it happens. So that, you know, that's one of the cool like little puzzles of how the game works and everything like that. And I'll talk a little bit more about like that cool aspect of the game here when I do my final thoughts. But alright, so the game begins. Each player will have a 5-card hand. They will start it up, and the troll gets to activate first. You also have like this little turn order, and you have this extra crazy bar down here. Now the reason why you have that extra bar down there is because normally like if you have like you're able to spend, like if you have like 6 crazy, you could spend, you know, like you could use 3 cards that cost 2. You could use a card that costs 5 and a card that costs 1. You know, so as long as you don't exceed that 6 crazy. However, because it's a co-op, you are allowed to, like, if you like had 7 crazy and you only spent 5 of it on your turn, you'd have 2 left, and then you could spend cards on your opponent's turn at that time with the 2 crazy you have left. So when it gets back to you, if you didn't spend that 2 crazy, you don't get to add it to your total. But they do have that in there, so like you and your compatriot can kind of like work together. You know, normally like obviously you don't know what each other person has in their hand as their cards and everything like that. You kind of that's a big secret, obviously, because you don't want people to know what your tactics are. But co-op, everything's kind of open, and you're showing things, and you're going to be talking to each other and like plotting out like what's going on. You don't know exactly what like Grumble Snore or the troll is going to do on their turn, but you can try to plan for that and try to figure out to make sure that, you know, you don't do something that is going to like screw things up for you, and like one of you is going to take extra damage. But anyway, so the troll would resolve. Now, when I say the troll resolves, basically what happens there is that the troll like will have actions that this card will tell it to do. But they don't actually happen right away. Like a lot of like so you know what it's going to be doing, and then the troll will do that action to what's going to happen. And then, so you can kind of plan ahead. And that's one of the things I've always really liked about this, because also, in the head-to-head version, you have an attack, and you say, I'm attacking with this particular goat, and I'm attacking your goat over here, or I'm attacking your shepherd because you don't have a goat there, or whatever. But you're attacking, and then what happens is that the other player gets a turn to try to figure out how to defend themselves against that, but also trying to figure out how to attack back as well. And so, it isn't one of those things where it's like, I'm attacking and I do damage. It's, I'm attacking, what are you going to do about it? And so, this, the exact same thing. So, the troll will, on its turn, it'll gain a rage, and it'll face the active player. Now, in this case, we've determined this is the active player. We're just saying that's the case. But if, the next turn, and what would happen is that we'd resolve the action, and then he would gain a rage, and then we'd turn around and he'd face this player, because that's when he's going to be, focusing on. And then we would draw a card for the troll behavior. So let's just draw a troll behavior, and I can kind of show you how this works. So these little colors over here determine, and the numbers determine what they do. So a lot of these are, these are, Grumble Snore gets +1 defense for each card in his opponent's hand. Well, we just drew cards, so he's got 5 cards. So he's got +5 defense. So, he's pretty much just wow, you're probably not going to do much as far as that's concerned. So that's a pretty tough card. But then as you go down the list, if he had this amount of rage, he would do this. And so it's play a Dream Mutation token on a Gruff opposite Grumble Snore. And so then you drop one of those. Remember, I said those are kind of like landmines that he wants to drop. So he would drop a mutation on the Gruff. And then Grumble Snore, if he had 2, he'd say Grumble Snore shifts right. If he can't shift right, he shifts left instead. And that's how the troll will move back and forth, and so on and so forth. And then play a dream. Then as you keep going on, it's play a Dream Mutation token on the Gruff opposite Grumble Snore. So you're okay. And then now this is Grumble Snore gains 1 fat if he had 5 rage, and he attacks. And so, but you wouldn't resolve that attack, because you'd know, if you had that much, you'd know he was attacking, be attacking Stitchy. And then the players would have to react to that. But he wouldn't be attacking until the next round. So maybe Stitchy, if Stitchy was dead, maybe then on my turn I'd want to shift, Custer over there. Or I want to shift somebody to, protect myself, in that position. Stitchy actually is probably a good person for him to attack, because if you look, Stitchy's got 4 fat, so Stitchy can actually take a ton of damage. But, I mean, as luck would have it, that would be the case. But, it's just one of those things, that's how that works. Then, you actually will go through the player resolution phase. So, if this wasn't, the first turn, so, let's say it was this person's turn now, and, maybe they had said they were attacking with buttons last turn, and they exhausted their particular goat, and they said they're attacking. So, the idea, they would resolve, that player resolution, that would resolve at that point. So you would see if that attack worked out. Now, because of the fact that we've just figured out that he gets +5 defense, it's probably not going to work, but, just, that's one of those things. And then, the player in question draws a card and adds it to their hand. You have a maximum of 7 cards in your hand. If you ever have more than 7, you do have to discard down. Discarding's a bad idea, remember, after you run out of cards, you run out of cards. Then, you would have your activation phase. And when you activate, that is when you decide which one of your goats is going to do something. So if we wanted, Stitchy, to activate, then we could go ahead and say, okay, well, Stitchy's going to attack back. Probably not the best decision, actually. We'd want to actually, probably attack with Pokey. Pokey has a high mean, and, hopefully, in the next phase, Grumble Snore will maybe even shift over here, so we don't attacking the side, or maybe the next thing, as far as, he would have a lower defense. There's cards we can play that can lower those things like that. But, so, you activate, and you say, I'm going to activate this one. And then you always want to, because when you activate your, you always want to make sure, check your weird. In this case, we're not going to gain anything, which kind of sucks. But, when you activate, like you're gonna activate it, and like this one doesn't have an activation thing. Oh, I'm sorry, +1 fat and +1 weird when exhausted, or when Pokey fully blocks damage. And fully blocks means like if you get attacked and you defend against that. So we would then be able to go ahead +1 fat, and so we just add that like so, and then we add +1 weird. Because once again, you exhaust the card when you activate the go that you want to do. So then you go through your play cards phase. And your play cards phase, and right now we haven't attacked with him. We haven't decided what we're going to do as far as, the action with him yet. But, so we then would play cards, so we'd look in our hand to see if anything that we want to play. Remember, we only have the one crazy at this point because of the fact that we haven't been able to get that. So like you kind of look and like there's cards in here that are really good, like Engulf, Mutate any Gruff. Whenever the mutated Gruff would take damage, Custer takes the damage instead. He's kind of like a tank Gruff, so you could like definitely set it up, and like obviously you could play this on one of your teammates' cards over there to help out. So there's all kinds of different like synergies and things like that. This is like a good card. Shuffle your discard pile and form a new deck. Put your original deck in your discard pile. That's a card you hold on to until like towards the very end. Obviously, you want to be able to have that. Like here's a card like for each exhausted Gruff in play, you may destroy one condition or mutation card. That's something that you play obviously when you've got a lot of those dream mutations, and you can just get rid of a bunch of them because of that. So I mean, there's all kinds of like cool cards. I mean, a lot of times like at the very beginning, you're not going to be able to play many cards because of the fact that you got to build up your crazy stat with your Shepherd. But it's part of the process of like the build of the game, and something also I'll talk about when we get towards the end of the game, but end of the video. But it's something that I really enjoy. So then after you have you've done that, you've played your cards, you've decided what you're going to do, then you're going to go ahead and decide your tactical action for the one that you activated. And when you do your tactical action, you can attack, which is pretty straightforward. You're just going to be attacking, and you say that they're going to attack. Once again, if this is head-to-head, like I say I'm attacking, the other player knows that I'm going to be attacking that particular his goat or his Gruff over there, and he has to prepare for that and do something to protect himself as far as that is concerned. I can shift, which is just exactly what you think. Like you could, if I didn't want this card in the middle, we could shift them like so, and shift them over into that other spot. You could resurrect, in which case, like once again, that's how you bring things back. You can, when you take your action, you can like, and that resurrects you. Obviously, if you can't activate a dead Gruff, but you take the action to activate them, exhaust them, but then you're able to resurrect another Gruff that you have. And remember, if you have any like mutations or anything like that, then you have to those stay with them. So good or bad. So I mean, you have to you can't just get, if they die, they don't slough off the mutations that they got. And then, or you can grow, which just allows you to increase one stat of your active Gruff by 1 point. So like if you wanted Stitchy to have more, if you wanted Pokey to have more mean, or like if I knew that he was going to get attacked, I could say, oh, I'm going to get attacked and I don't want to take damage, I'm going to increase his fat by 1. And so that's what I'm going to do. And that's that whole thing where you get to plan ahead and process the different actions and what's going on, and why the game like has this wonderful tactical edge to it that really makes it interesting. So then after that, remember, you aren't going, if you did attack, you're not going to resolve that right away. You don't go, okay, see my damage. You're not going to do that right away. And then the next turn goes, and so this person becomes the active player. And if we have any like leftover crazy from any cards, like in this case we probably had one because we didn't spend it, and maybe we had a card that cost 1 that would be helpful, we'd mark that down. This player goes, and then we just go ahead and do the troll phase, like we did before, where the troll resolves. If they attack, we'd resolve the damage, and like hopefully like Pokey would survive, and then troll would gain a rage, and then he would flip over and face the active player, and then we draw another card, and see what it is. So in this case, like play a dream mutation token on the Gruff opposite Grumble Snore. Grumble Snore shifts left, and you go through the list as well. And if you once you get through these, you just shuffle them up and create a new deck. So you will kind of get used to like some of these cards that are in there, but obviously there's enough cards in that deck that you can't really know what's going to happen. And then you're just going to go back and forth like that and kind of ping-ponging the troll back and forth, trying to make sure that you keep him damaged, or keep him busy enough, and combine yourself as far as like defending yourself, making sure your shepherd doesn't take damage, but also making sure that you're doing damage to him, because if you don't do damage to him, you can't win the game. And the time is not on your side. As you go through your deck, you're going to run out of options, run out of cards, run out of things you can do, and eventually, the troll is just going to overwhelm you. So, it's an excellent game. I really liked the co-op version of this. It was an added thing that I didn't expect to enjoy. I actually tried out a real like alpha version of it way back in the day. I think when that first expansion came out, Rage of the Trolls, and I really enjoyed it. But then I missed out. I don't know what happened. I just didn't catch it or whatever, and I'm just kind of annoyed that I did. But then when I got this, I dug out my old copy of Gruff, and obviously these cards are interchangeable. The things can be combined. You can create whatever deck you want. You can just and the malleability and the changeability, I should say, of the game is infinite. I mean, well, it isn't infinite, but you know what I mean, like as far as the number of cards and everything like that. It is a fantastically fun tactical card game that like comes in a pretty small box. Like here's like my Rage of the Trolls box. Comes in this little tiny box, and you can pretty much carry it anywhere. And also, it's one of those things that my daughter and I really, really like to play, and that always is going to get a thumbs up as far as I'm concerned. So, but let me talk all about that and more in my final thoughts. Alright, normally, like, the person that's up there drops this, and I catch it, right? But this one, like, I'm worried the cards will, because it doesn't really stay on really well, and I think, like, if they drop it, it'll, like, anyway, so I'm not going to throw, I'm not going to let it be dropped down. Anyway, there's so many things about it that I like. Like I said, I really like the art, I like the theme, but the big thing that I've always liked about the Gruff games is the taking the action and like having to wait and see what happens, like as far as what is the other player going to react to. And that happens like with the verses a lot, as far as like, hey, I'm attacking with this guy, what are you going to do about it, and you can kind of force actions upon the other person. Like if they don't have good defense and you attack in a spot where they are weak, you're kind of forcing them to do a shift, or else they're giving up hit points. And the thing is that actually does come over into the co-op version well, because of the fact that, once again, it's open knowledge. You're discussing what you're doing. You're saying, hey, look, I can attack the troll with this guy. Can you do something to strengthen him this round? And then they can go through their cards and they can say, yeah, I got this one that's going to add like +2 to his mean or something like that. And then they'll play that. And so you'll have like that added ability, and like, but of course it isn't like a status quo thing where it's like exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have situations where like obviously you pull over that card and the troll's going to do something that you're not expecting, and they're going to like move on you, or they're going to take an action that you aren't expecting. But it's one of those things where you're able to like plan ahead together and work together, but also like having that timing again, which is once again the thing I really, really have always liked about this series of games, this Gruff series of games. This is like kind of like the perfect expansion for me. If you've watched my videos, you know that I am a big fan of expansions that just add more stuff to the box. There's something I've always kind of disliked where it's like, hey, that game you really, really love, and you really, really like how that plays? Yeah. Well, I'm going to add this expansion that totally changes everything. And it's like, no, I don't want you to do that. I just want more stuff. I want more things. I want more cards. I want more mutated goats. I want more shepherds. I want more trolls. That's what I want. Expand on this awesome base of a game that you have, and then just pile more cool stuff, cool weird goats that you can put in there. And obviously, like, the cool thing about these goats, if you looked at the pictures, and if you go on the website and go to the Kickstarter page, you'll see it. But if you look at the pictures, these guys are like these cool, like, stitched together goats. Like, and even this one, the guy's even called Stitchy. It's like they're like, not only are they mutated, but they're also like, what are they, like, kind of like a plushy thing? Are they kind of like toys that have come to life? And I really liked like the shepherds. Like, here's like Wild Thing, where obviously this is a kid wearing a like monster suit or whatever, so it's like a callback, in my opinion, to Where the Wild Things Are, that fantastic book. And then if you have like the Weaver, which is the other shepherd, and I'll just kind of show that. You can definitely check these out on like BGG or what have you. But the Weaver, you can see she's got a giant thread and giant string, so like she's maybe created these goats, which just kind of adds to the immersion and adds to the world of Gruff, which I really enjoy. So bottom line is that if you really like card battle games and you want to have something that you can kind of carry with you and go wherever you want, and if you like the fact that you can play head-to-head or you can play co-op, and you can play solo. I should mention that you can just play against the trolls by yourself and play a solo game, and it works really, really well. The only big difference is instead of gaining 1 rage, the troll gains 2 rage on your turn, so he gains power quicker. But, then this is a game that I think you're really, really going to like. And definitely, as far as the theme goes, you're not going to really have something on your shelf that's going to be anything like this, if you will. So there you go. That is Gruff, Stuff of Nightmares. If you have any questions about the game or what have you, just go ahead and ask away. I love getting the comments below, and I like responding to those. So I do try to respond to them when I see them. Sometimes it takes me a while, but I do try to respond to every single question or comment that people give me. So if you do that, that'd be awesome. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.